Brown sticky stuff is here again. Y'all don't know what you think on this. I'm gonna see one I can steal that won't be too bad.
We can just hang on to the list, okay?
No, that's all right. I'll steal Kelly's. We'll just make sure we put it back, okay? Well, I'm a faithful believer in Jesus Christ. I'm recovering from divorce and anger issues and alcohol abuse and codependency and sexual compulsion, and I can fit in this group that we have here. My name is Les. We're very pleased that you're here tonight. You're going to hear a dynamic testimony from a couple. You know, you realize when, like me, I've been here around for so long. I remember when this couple first came into Ridgecrest, and then they decided to join our band, and then I'll let you tell them their story. As we've gone through this celebrate recovery, we've encountered a lot of people we have a lot of respect for a lot of different reasons. Bob was certainly one of them last week. We have a lot of respect for this couple. Kent was the person that led my first step study that I was in. So, but not only is it a couple that you can respect, but they're just gosh fun to be around. And so please help me welcome Kent and Chris Robertson. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this night. We thank you for this couple and all the talents and the energy and the effort that they put in, not only this CR, but other CRs. And we just ask that the message that they have tonight reaches the people in the manner that you intended. All of this we ask in your name, Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
You need that? Yeah, need that. I guess I may lose my voice. Good evening, Celebrate Recovery.
Good evening.
My name's Kent. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ, and I shorten things. That table sitting out there with all them pamphlets on it, I'm in recovery for or struggle with everything out there. After 13 years, this is kind of an eye-awakening thing. My name's Kent. And this is our story. I was born October 1958. I was the oldest of two children. I had a great home, had great parents. On most Sundays, we were in church in the morning, and then at the lake or the river for the rest of the day. And I won't deny it, I was a spoiled brat back then. I began playing guitar at a young age, and I had dreams of rock stardom, and I always wanted to be popular. I believe it was in the 4th grade when my classmates started to form their own little exclusive groups and cliques, and I wanted to be a part of all of them. Looking back now, I see this as a start of severe self-esteem issues. I was the chubby kid that made up stories and offered bribes for others to be my friend. I went so far that I started stealing from my parents and others to buy candy on the way to school. And back then we did walk to school, and there were several little neighborhood stores on the way. And I'd take this money and I'd buy goodies for everybody and hand it out at school. I got caught stealing a couple of times. I took my punishment and just continued along the same path. My parents believed in spanking and discipline, but I don't feel that I was ever abused. By the time I was 10 or so, I played guitar in a little band with a group of my friends. Creek's Clearwater Revival kind of stuff. We had fun. Sometime around 10 or 12, I started smoking tobacco, then marijuana. And along with this came alcohol and stronger drugs. Band members changed. The music progressed to rock and metal. I started to seriously believe it was all about me and no one else. At 14, I left home for the first time. I rebelled against everything and everyone that had any authority. At 16, I started dating a girl at school, and at 17, I was married with a child on the way. I worked full-time, but that wasn't enough. I ended up having to sell all my musical equipment. And with a lot of help from my parents, I bought a trailer and we settled down. Ha-ha. Yeah, folks, it was all about me. I felt trapped by my wife and child. I was always worried about all the money it took from me. And after 3 years of a rocky marriage, she cheated on me and I divorced her. About 6 months later, I started dating the love of my wife, Chris.
Hi, my name is Chris. I'm a grateful believer and follower of Jesus Christ, and I have been in Celebrate Recovery for 13 years now. I struggle still with codependency because I'm a mom. Anger, resentment, as you hear from our testimony, quite a few things. I grew up a military brat with a strict upbringing, 3 younger brothers, lots of moves, lots of issues as a result of an alcoholic mother and a very absent father. Character defects of perfectionism, low self-esteem, and so many others. By the time I met Ken, he was in the beginning of his marriage, and I had ended mine. I was dating a friend of his and staying in his trailer, with his pregnant wife, tied from my ex-husband, who was stalking me. After remarrying my ex-husband, don't ask. I didn't see Ken again until 1979. By then, I was a big mess who was afraid of ever getting close to anyone ever again. My divorce really did me in. Well, this one night I got a call from some guy I barely knew, and I told him I just wasn't ready to try dating, and he talked me into it. So Friday the 13th, we went out and we ate, went to a movie, Night of the Living Dead, and came home. He lived in Aurora, I lived in Stockton. My mom knew that my ex would be in town Saturday and asked Ken if he could figure out a way to take me to the lake or something. Long story short, fast forward, after time, we were together whenever we weren't at work. We enjoyed each other's company. It was so comfortable, and we just enjoyed each other. It started to get serious, and I really wasn't ready for this, so I called him and said, I'm not ready. Then I felt so bad after telling him that, I called him back. So we started dating in March, and we got married in June, mostly because we felt we were disappointing his mom and my dad. We tried not to do that a whole lot, especially my daddy. My knees shook so bad that everybody, including Kim, thought I was going to turn around and run out of that church. But I knew that if I didn't marry him, I'd be missing something wonderful. It'd be an adventure. And I could see us on the porch in our rockers as we got old.
So, now we begin anew. The same two people, and it was the honeymoon phase. And while I thought everything was great, remember, it's all about me. Chris didn't necessarily agree, but we had a lot of good times. After turning 21, I went to work for the local sheriff's department, along with my lifelong best friend. Now, it was all about me with a gun and a badge. A few months later, Chris actually went to work for the same sheriff's department as well. And a year later, a new sheriff was elected, who I didn't happen to get along with, so I left and I joined the Air Force. I was 2 weeks from graduation of basic and tech school in law enforcement in the Air Force. Just been brainwashed really well when I was discharged for medical reasons. It was the biggest slap in the face I'd ever had. I came home, I went back to work in law enforcement. I began drinking heavily. I started using drugs again. And in 1982, our first daughter was born. With this, I discovered we had great credit and started exploring its use, and the games began.
And the games began. While he was reworking his life, he was miserable, you know. Mine was the deepest hole on the earth. I wanted children, and I knew that he didn't. And he acted like it was okay, but as I was having lots of trouble, I believe he didn't think I would ever get pregnant, so he wasn't worried about it and said, yeah, whatever. I did get pregnant, and I was happy. He was not. Afterwards, though, I had to constantly validate spending money on diapers, formula, clothes, food, like I wasn't working. I was responsible for everything, and as long as I didn't expect much, I thought he would be happier. He wasn't happy, and you could tell by the new lifestyle he had acquired. I knew nothing of the drugs. But I thought he was drinking a lot more than normal, and we had a very different idea about credit versus hand and cash flow. This new phase in our lives did not make me happy, as I was reminded constantly about why he wasn't happy. In his defense, I did not discuss it with him. Neither of us can argue or confront issues. Can you say codependency? Prior marriages with unresolved issues and a lot of baggage on both of our part. At one point, I told Candy to step up and be a husband and a father and get out of my life. I got a job offer to work at another company in Mount Vernon and took the job. I cried. I loved that job. Fast forward, we now have another daughter. We've moved out to the country into a nice big house on top of a hill, just in case we had to take care of our parents. The girls are both in school, and we are going through vehicles, boats, guns, phases as fast as something new comes out. I say we, because I still have not really said anything about it. I just get this look on my face and clean the house. He knows, and he tells me basically there's the door if I don't like it. So by this time, I'm learning about what I call the black, the numbness, and I'm having constant panic and anxiety attacks and losing hours of my life.
So, for around 22 years from our first year together, we lived in the same house, but we pretty much lived separate lives. I think the only two things that kept us together were love and God. I know now that He had a plan for us. Although I didn't attend church back then, I still believed in God, and I prayed to Him most nights. My prayers were for wealth and the demise of those I had no use for. I loved my family, but it was still all about me. I left law enforcement and I started working on a local ambulance along with a couple of other part-time jobs. Actually became the manager of that ambulance service and then started drinking more than ever. It got to where I would drink to keep from getting called back into work. It was an acceptable excuse. So when I got off at 7 a.m. in the morning, I started drinking and I continued until the night before I went back to work. I continued to buy anything and everything I could with credit. I became very good at juggling the bills, paying one with the other, but they were always paid, so we always had excellent credit. I had become an expert at using people for my benefit. This included my parents, my family, and my friends. But it all came crashing down in the fall of 2000. The first time ever I had bills left and no money to pay them with. For some reason, it just devastated me. Chris came home for lunch that day and found me threatening to shoot myself. We made it through by borrowing more money. The next few months, I was one broken man. Nothing seemed to go right. I was always sick with worry. In early 2001, my wife came home one day and announced that my youngest daughter had been saved and was going to be baptized. She wanted me to go to church and support her. I hadn't been in a church to attend a service in 20 plus years, but I agreed to go. I'm sure now that I was thinking that I could find some way out of it before it came. But that Sunday, I went to church to support my daughter, and when I walked through the doors, everything just went away. Didn't have to say a word, it just all was gone. The worry, the fear, the hopelessness, all of it. And that day I gave my life to Jesus. I did it quietly, by myself, and I didn't tell anyone. Romans 8:38 says, "For I am persuaded that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor principalities, nor powers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor height, nor depth, nor any other creature should be able to separate us from the love of God, which is in Jesus Christ our Lord." And now I add my past stupid actions to this.
He's got quite a few in that time frame there. I had become so numb by this time and depressed that when I came home to find him in a bad way, I really didn't care at all. I told him I would fund the money somewhere, and I just left him there and went back to work. It hurt so bad that he had never felt that way about me or the girls. Just money. He refused to go to Tracy's baptism, so I was surprised he would go to Brandy's. After her baptism, he started acting funny, like a happy little space cadet. Then he wanted to go talk to the pastor about joining the church and both of us being baptized. You could have hit me with a truck. We were members at First Baptist Church, and I do mean members. Kent was playing guitar for the youth band. We had friends that we sang with in nursing homes. But I was very involved to avoid conflict at home. I was in everything there was at that church to keep me next to my friends and children. We moved to Springfield in 2007 after I drove through the infamous ice storm of 2006, which I'm blaming on him. Things were still iffy, but getting better, and in some ways, but other ways he just learned to divert it around better. And I told Ken I didn't want a vacation from church and we needed to find one as soon as possible. So he left Ridgecrest right off with Pastor Hosey, and we went to a meeting where this guy named Les Palmer suggested that Ken might be interested in being in a band, maybe, or helping with this thing called Celebrate Recovery. Never heard of it. The band was a trigger I didn't realize at the time. My first husband played in a band. We both have been with that band since 2007, and we are in the band where we're at now. And Ken cooked for a while, and I just wanted to help, so I went through a 12-step study, which was great for me and not so great and terrible for my husband, who now really didn't know what to do with his wife, who had had enough. I discovered I had codependency, anger, resentment, abandonment issues, perfectionism, very low self-esteem, and the list goes on and on and on. After going to the summit in California, Ken got it. He went to a 12-step, did another one, started going to small group. He didn't need CR. He didn't need it at all. He was just here for the band. That was it. Well, we had discussions that opened up so many cans of worms. We killed secrets. We talked about stuff we had never talked about. We apologized to each other and tried to start over again. We killed things that were holding both of us captive with guilt and shame, and basically started over after 30 years of marriage. If you think that's not hard, folks, try retirement and doing it again. Principle 4, openly examine, confess my faults to myself, to God, and to someone I trust. And step 4, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Let us examine our ways and test them. Let us return to the Lord. Lamentations 3:40.
So many things were better. The worry was gone. I spent most of my time off work doing service for the church. We started working on the debt, and with the help of Dave Ramsey, paid it all off. But give complete control of my life to God, I just wasn't ready to do that yet, even though in the first few years God revealed himself to me in so many ways. I was still hard-headed, continued to drink now and then, and had become very sarcastic. I had an angry attitude towards so many things. I'd given up management at the ambulance and was working a ground ambulance in Springfield. Chris had transferred to Nixon, and as she said, then the winter to change everything happened, the great ice storm. And yes, it's all my fault. God did that just because of me and my stupid ways. So as she said, Chris announced that she wasn't going to drive back and forth another winter, and that we were either going to move to Springfield or she was quitting her job. Now, I had no desire to move. We had just sold a house in the country, bought a new house in town, had no equity in it. The housing market was crashing. And so I'm thinking, well, what the heck? The way Kent's mind worked back then, I can tell her yes, but I know the house is never going to sell. This is never going to happen, so it's no big deal. Yep, so I put the house up for sale, agreed to move to Springfield. Less than 30 days, you don't think God has a sense of humor? Had a contract on my house. Couldn't find one in Springfield that we liked, and the band just out of the blue, as we were leaving town one day, she found a phone number in her purse that some lady at work had given her. Was going to sell her house, so we went and looked at it. They didn't want to sell it yet, but we bought it anyway. So yeah, God had other plans. We ended up 2 blocks away from Ridgecrest. The first time we went here was a last contemporary service they had at Remington's back years ago. And there were a whole bunch of people there that I actually knew. And we ended up joining the church. And as she said, because of a meeting that Les taught, I ended up in a program called Celebrate Recovery. Didn't know anything about it. I'd never heard anything about it. But I helped out with the band, helped out cooking. After a large group, we went home. And that went on for the better part of a year. The next summer, Les offered to send us out to Saddleback for summer. And so I went. Really wasn't sure why I went at the time, but she had family in California. We got to see them, and it was a nice trip. So the second day there, for any of you that have been to California, we stayed back towards LA. So we had a pretty good drive. We were getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to make it there by around 5 to get in the line so we could get a seat in the worship center, which was very limited seating for the number of people there, to hear all the music. Well, the second day, I was in one of my moods. The group that we were with wanted to sit in the bleachers. My body doesn't fit in bleachers real well. So I ended up outside on their little patio with a speaker listening, having a pity party. And then it started. God first started softly, and then he got his ball bat out. And after about the 4th or 5th whack in the head, I finally started listening. And he let me know that morning that, yes, it was all about me. It was about me getting fixed. And I got it. And so I came back and I did step study and started going out to Fordland, to the prison, and doing CRI out there, and did another step study, and started helping to facilitate small group, and did another step study. And I think after this last one, I think I just finished my 7th one, I think, counting both of the studies now. And it changed everything. Changed my life. I got the message. So, one of my favorite verses, I think Chris's as well, is humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will lift you up. That's James 4:10. And Psalms 25:5 says, lead me in your truth and teach me, for you are the God of my salvation. On you I will wait all day long.
And I know this is going to sound odd if you don't know us. If you do, it'll make a lot of sense to you. But by this time, we've gone from friends and lovers, roommates, to people who don't know each other at all, to newlyweds again, but we've always had love. The kind that says, I don't like you right now, but I love you, and I've made a commitment to you, and I'm staying. I don't want anybody else in my life. We've been married for 40 years plus, and at times he was married and I wasn't, and I was married and he wasn't. And I do mean that mentally, spiritually, but not physically. We have never cheated on each other. But we may as well have. We were living in the same house, but not together. We've never yelled or hit, and my children have never seen us fight. Silence for days, the house is spotless, but never fight. My kids blame me for not being able to know how to argue with their spouses. They never saw us do it. But I've learned what my triggers are before they become full-blown bombs or panic attacks. And Celebrate Recovery has given me the tools to handle life by giving everything over to Jesus Christ. But he still lets me experience the trials that do test me constantly to remind me that my life is his. And I can either follow what I feel he's telling me or be prepared to let the Chris inside me take over and wait for the disasters to happen, because they're going to. Principle 8 says to yield myself to God, to be used to bring this good news to others, both by my example and by my words. I'm on my 6th or 7th step study. I'm finishing one up this week, and I learned some more new stuff about me. But I have to constantly remember that I need to yield myself to God. Kent knows what sets me off, and he does discuss things with me first, instead of just surprising me with new plans or major decisions. He listens to me now instead of cutting me off. And he listens to me, and I don't feel like I'm stupid anymore. I still have trouble not remembering the past and thinking that everything will replay over again if something happens. Major trust issues. I believe I will always suffer from some codependency. Like I said, I'm a mom. And it's hard. But thanks to Jesus Christ, I have no control over it, and he does. And he does a lot better job of it than I do. I know Kent and I have a stronger marriage. We are both better people because of Celebrate Recovery. Our girls both know the Lord and have been saved, and our grandchildren are being taught the good news and going to church. I will get to see them all in heaven. We are both involved in several Celebrate Recovery programs, and we love our CR families. Some of you know more about us than our real families, and you still like us, and you still love us, and you're stuck with us anyway, so, you know. I've always held this as my personal encouragement. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. And it doesn't mean just sit still, it means to let everything go and let God take care of it. I'm a type A personality. That's very hard for me to do, to ask for help or to sit still and wait for something to happen. I have a lot of trouble with that. But over the years, He has also given me the Beatitudes, and this from Matthew 5:23-24. Therefore, if you're offering your gift at the altar, and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar. First go and be reconciled to your brother, then come and offer your gift. And the rest of that is you must be reconciled to your brother before you come to the Lord. You have to. I take this one to heart when things happen and I didn't listen. When people ask about sober recovery, they think it's all about drugs and alcohol and addictions, and I say, no, it's not. It's about hurting, habits, and hang-ups that you can't get past. And I'm sorry, but my codependency has just about got me killed. And I'm not going to go into that. But my codependency is just as dangerous for me as some of your stuff is for you. Do not ever make light of someone else's problems. Be kind. Be gentle always. You don't know what someone else is going through. I learned how to let Jesus Christ take over in my life. And I will tell you that Celebrate Recovery has saved my marriage. It has saved my relationship with my one daughter. And it has saved my husband and me both. Celebrate Recovery has helped me let people in instead of keeping them out, which I'm very good at. And it showed me how to forgive by forgiving myself first. That's the hardest part. Is our marriage perfect? No. But it is a marriage in the truest sense. We just had a discussion before we got here, and it was like, oh, that was kind of nice. We didn't get mad at each other when I said that. This is cool. The Lord is first. Our family and friends come next. And then whatever's left is left. But I believe that marriage is 150% from both sides. Like Ecclesiastes 4:9-12. Two are better off than one because together they can work more effectively. If one of them falls down, the other can help him up. But if someone is alone, there is no one there to help him. Two can resist an attack that would defeat one man alone. We're both retired now, and that has opened up new things in our lives. We're not used to being together 24/7. We're starting over again. But we travel, we enjoy our family more, and I'm trying to learn how to slow down. He's trying to learn how to speed up. It's not working, no. I'm a type A, and we kid around that he's a Z. And if we can meet at M, it'd be really great, but I don't think that's going to happen. But I don't want him to change too much because he's the fun part of our marriage, and I'm the serious part. We complement each other. So, we started getting to know each other all over again, but we're still doing step studies. We're still doing Celebrate Recovery.
So to wrap things up, if this is your first night coming through those doors or your second or third, I tell you to keep coming to this program. Frank's not sitting here, but Frank always said, keep coming back. It works if you work it, and work it because you're worth it. And believe me, it's not an instantaneous thing. It's not a tomorrow thing, it's not a next month thing, it's not a next year thing, it's the rest of your life. I tell new people all the time in small group, they always ask the question, how long is this going to take? And it's like, this is forever. When you kneel before your Lord and Savior, it'll be done.
Amen.
So, to quote a very good friend from Fordham, you're my CR family, I love you, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. Thank you.